Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namassāmi. So lately I've been contemplating perception, and so I thought I'd give some thoughts around that. This evening, of course, perception is something that affects everything. Every mind moment has perception, sanya. Each mind moment has feeling, pleasant, painful, neutral, and perception. And perception is the perception. I prefer the word perception. I think Bhikkhu Bodhi certainly uses perception for sanya. Bhikkhu Analayo uses cognition, which I think is a bit confusing, but it again, these are sometimes these words have it's hard to pin it into one English word. Ajahn Jeff uses perception. I think that's the most common translation. It's but perception. It's the its function is perceiving, association, naming, recognition, things like that. In the Thai language, when it's sanya is defined, and it's that which gives importance and meaning. So that's is what it's doing. Giving. So that, and sanya relies on memory. So that's where, like, associations and recognitions and the patterns that we perceive, whether it's patterns of thought or patterns of behavior, and we put a label on it. So that's perception. And I think what got me going on reflecting about perception is air quality, and which I never paid attention to before, and never thought about it, never really. And this past week or 10 days, I mean, that's somehow it's taken over consciousness, and taken over. One is. I mean, I knew people talked about air quality, I didn't really know how it was measured or what. Now I know, and of course, air quality has been terrible for the last week, 10 days, 2 weeks, and still is here. But I was actually, of course, looking again this afternoon, and it's not so bad this here. We're 152, which is in the low end of unhealthy. But say like San Francisco's 170, which is up in the unhealthy. But it was also up at the Hermitage yesterday. Yesterday they said it was 800, which was like beyond hazardous. Today it was 420, which is still hazardous. It's not good. But that one, you give a number and then you make this association and it's perception. And then of course, what do we do with it? Do we run with it? Either because that's what I say. Like the Buddha, in terms of the Buddha's teachings, that's what's really important. It's not so much say what it is, but what does it do? It's like the Buddha. There's a discourse. It's in the Anguttara Nikaya, and what's the result of perception? And the Buddha said, the result of perception is expression. Perceiving something, one then expresses it in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't just sit there static. We express it, we formulate it, it forms these, just impressions in the mind, which then condition us, and that has an effect, and similarly, they thinking of the discourse in the Majjhima Nikaya, Majjhima 19, Dvaita Vitaka Sutta, the two kinds of thought. The Buddha talking about his own, training his own mind. And but he makes this very important statement that conditions a lot of how the approach of Buddhism and ethos of Buddhism is that what one thinks and ponders, that becomes the inclination of the mind. So that if we, and they use this the structure of, this evening we chanted the Noble Eightfold Path, and there's the second step of the Eightfold Path is Samma Sankappa, and the right, I think in that is right intention. So it's Sankappa, it's intention, right volition, right. Ajahn Jeff translates it as right resolve. So that one resolves the mind on either say sensuality or renunciation. So if the mind thinks and ponders a lot on sensuality, then inclines away from, say, renunciation or giving up or generosity. If one thinks and ponders a lot, inclines the mind towards, say, renunciation, then those ties to and the impetus and the importance that one gives to sensuality decreases. So it's and the same with, say, ill will, non-ill will, thoughts of harming, thoughts of harmlessness, which are say, okay, ill will, and non-ill will is like loving kindness. There's thoughts of harming, its opposite would be compassion. And so that those are kind of driven by the perception, because we place importance and our associations, and we so that and that turning of the mind, and then of course these are not say the perception is not an isolated process in the mind. It's there's a Sariputta is answering a question from Mahakotita, and Mahakotita says, that feeling, perception, consciousness, are these conjoined or are they disjoined? Are they separate or are they together? And Sariputta said, feeling, perception, consciousness, these are conjoined. They are not disjoined. They're together. They're conditioning each other. They're functioning together. So that they just recognizing how that works, and so that and how say these days where you walk outside and you first thing you look at the sky, and and then there's the association. Oh dear, the smoke's coming. Oh, or it's clear and you get feel good, and you sort of, and then or there's either fear and aversion, or there's delight, and of course that is this just going up and down with external conditions, and of course the internal conditions are going up and down as well. So it's just creating or contributing to turmoil in the mind. That's where this being able to just recognize how these very fundamental basis of our experience, perception, memory, recognition, association, giving meaning and importance to things, it's happening all the time. And are we taking responsibility for it? Are we directing attention to that which is going to lead to a sense of loving kindness, compassion, generosity, well-being rather than dukkha? So these are aspects of training and cultivation that are very important to be attending to. Of course, it affects all sorts of aspects. Again, where it's very simple things of we perceive something as really kind of disgusting, and is it disgusting to everybody, to everything? It's like a pile of dung, a pile of excrement. ooh, how disgusting. And it doesn't really matter where it is. And you feel, ooh, how disgusting. But if you're a fly, I mean, you hit the jackpot. I mean, they start telling their friends, and so it's this is perception, or like every day after the meal in the dining hall, or as it's getting close to the meal, and if you walk past the kitchen and you smell the food cooking and preparation of food, and you're hungry, it smells really good. And then you have the meal, you're full, and monks go off to wash the bowls, and next thing you do, open the windows, light some incense to get that smell of food out of them. You're full. It just doesn't smell good anymore. And the perception changes. So it's what we associate with. How does this change? How are we influenced by it? And what do we perceive? And how strongly do we hold to it? One of my favorite ones is from illustration of that is from the movie The Life of Brian. It's toward the early part of the film where the Sermon on the Mount is being given, and the voice is in the back of going through the blessed are the meek, blessed, and then but of course then the scene pans out and it gets more toward the back of the crowd and speak up. I can't hear you. And then they start talking back and forth, and then Jesus, blessed are the peacemakers, and then they're sort of talking back and forth. What did he say? He said, yeah, blessed are the cheesemakers. And then somebody else, blessed are the cheesemakers. What's so important about cheesemakers? And of course then it goes on, then you get the religious commentary starting to come. Well, it's not really just cheesemakers. This is obviously not just the cheesemakers. It's the whole dairy industry, So, and this perceptions building on perceptions, and confusion and chaos reigning. It's funny, because it's true. That they're, but it just is, it's pointing to that very human tendency of what do we associate with, and where does it end up? And we make up so much of it just from our own biases and inclinations and worries and fears and prejudices, and that and it has a humorous element. It has a very, very dire and problematic element. I just think of over the past quite a few years of the amount of the internet and the social media and the amount of misinformation, disinformation that is spread around, and it's perception. It's not really, and it goes, across the whole realm of it's hopefully termed communication, but I think it's hopeful because this perception is we're conditioned by it and driven. So learning how to really pay attention to what how perception is conditioning us, how we are conditioning perception. Again, these are conjoined, they're not disjoined, they're affecting each other. There's a term that the Buddha gives in his teachings, sanya vipallasa, and it's distortion of perception. And there's very specific things that the Buddha talks about, but in terms of sanya vipallasa, distortion of perception, but then the perceptions around, say, perceiving the impermanent as permanent, or the stable as the unstable as stable. That's a distortion of perception. The distortion of perception of seeing that which is dukkha, unsatisfactory, as satisfactory, satisfying, source of happiness. The distortion of perception of seeing what is not self as self. This is me, this is mine, this is what I am. Or the distortion of perception around what is not attractive, but seeing it as attractive. And so those are the kind of the classical definitions, but of course you start extrapolating out from that. You start seeing, this is wherever we're holding to, getting tangled up in perceptions of that don't accord with reality, don't accord with truth, don't accord with what is beneficial and useful in our life, for ourselves and for others, then that is sanya vipallasa. And in the Thai language, about 30% of the Thai language is from Pali and Sanskrit, just because of its long association. And but the word for somebody who is kind of mentally deranged is sanya vipallasa. So it takes it from a theory to that's what is manifesting. So this sense of the and of course the being able to recognize and see what our perceptions are doing, where to turn our attention. There's a very short sutta that years and years ago I came across, and it really inspired me, and it's one that I wrote down and ended up including it in the book The Island, and it's Ananda asks Sariputta, why is it that some people are able to be fully set free, realize Nibbana in this lifetime, and why is it that some people are not able to be fully set free, not in this very lifetime, not realize Nibbana in this very lifetime? And Sariputta said the reason why someone is not able to set themselves free, and of course he does the opposite after, but that not seeing as it truly is perceptions that lead to decline, hana bahagiya sanya, when not seeing and understanding clearly those perceptions which lead to decline, not seeing and understanding those perceptions that lead to stability, not seeing and understanding those perceptions that lead to distinction, not seeing and understanding those perceptions that lead to penetration. And it's like hanabhagya sanya, and titti bhagya sanya, stability. Visesa bhagya sanya, to distinction, and nibheda bhagya sanya, to penetration. And that hana is like, one doesn't perceive what is leading to decline, what's leading to something low. One has some, leading to something unskillful and unwholesome. We don't see it clearly, we don't understand. This perception, we say misperceive. And of course the opposite is true. If we saw that really clearly, then if we saw that, this perception is leading to ill will, it's leading to negativity, it's leading to division and conflict. That is really the only thing to do is to be very careful and to be relinquishing it, to be steering clear from it rather than feeding it. And there's those things that lead to stability, qualities of when the perception of seeing things that one has a strong sense of integrity and virtue that supports those aspects of our being, those perceptions that help us to recognize what is it that helps to have a sense of say of patience and qualities of say of kindness and a sense of acceptance with the conditions or the people or ourselves, because there's like around self-perception, how much the things of how that's how much instability comes when we perceive things through a lens of our own say flaws, foibles, identities, and it doesn't lead to stability. So and then what leads to distinction, we say, is bhagya sanya. That's those qualities are distinction in terms of refined states of being, being able to really rely on those qualities of, say, of metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, the divine abidings, the Brahma viharas, those or refined qualities of peace and clarity. Those are qualities of distinction, and to be able to turn the mind to perception of say a beauty. That's the seeing the beauty of the in the world around us, rather than being drawn into the unattractive or the disturbing. That ability to dwell in the beautiful. And that nibbeda, bhagya sanya, nibbeda is the penetration, and to turn it, to be able to turn the attention to a clear understanding, analysis, penetration of the nature of the world, nature of the self. Seeing through again, that's going beyond those vipalasas of perceiving impermanence as impermanent, seeing dukkha as dukkha, seeing anatta as anatta, seeing the things in their true nature, seeing the nature of cause and condition, how things are dependently arisen, how things come to be, how things come to cease, and being able to bring attention to that in that skillful way, so that as we are able to pay attention to perception and the process of perception, and of course that's the as I said before, it's each mind moment. Say in the Abhidhamma, each mind moment is there's constitute the feeling and perception are there. Consciousness, and there's a conscious experience of that, and it's these are conditioning factors of perception, and being able to both reflect on it and then turn our attention to what perceptions are helpful, are beneficial, what's going to lead to well-being, but then also what is going to lead to a sense of internal harmony, but then also communal harmony, social harmony. What kind of perceptions are divisive? What kind of perceptions are really really not helpful for anybody's well-being, and to be able to see the pain that's involved in that and to relinquish it. Whether it's fear and worry or aversion and negativity, ill will, or constant stimulating of desire. Those those qualities come out of a very simple process. That association, labeling, and are those all? Does every single association and label and perception that comes up in the mind, is that really true? And you have to go to what's the expression? Because what we perceive, just because we perceive it, our bias is, of course, it's true. It's mine. It's me. I'm always right. Everybody else is wrong. But you have to pay attention to what the result of perception. That sense of the Buddha saying, the result of perception is expression. How is it expressed? How is it expressing itself? And is that really what we want to live with? And is that really the kind of world that we want to create? Because that's what we're doing. We are creating the world. Where the Buddha says, the world, what is that whereby one conceives of the world and perceives of the world, that is the world. And so, pay attention to what kind of world you're creating. Realize that, as say Sariputta is saying, we have this opportunity, ability to free the heart in this very life through understanding perception and learning how to work with it. So I'll offer that for reflection this evening.